welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Today you'll be treated to an exciting presentation about ways to get people to read data-driven journalism, writing in general. And you'll hear that from Kristen Kearney, who works for Qubit Planning, which is a planning firm in town that collects environmental and demographic data for people all over the country. And she might introduce herself further.
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about Qubit and what we do at Qubit later on in the presentation. But what I'm really going to talk about is 7 of my favorite examples about writing about data that's going to drive eyeballs to your website. And so, as you guys probably know, this year 1.8 zettabytes of data is going to be created. I don't even know if I'm saying zettabytes right. I can't even really intellectually grasp what a zettabyte is. So fortunately, somebody who writes about data created this infographic to help us understand. And they're letting us know that a zettabyte is if every person in the United States tweets 3 tweets per minute for 26,976 years nonstop. That will be 1.8 zettabytes. So all of this data is being created, and I think that what it tells us is that people, especially you guys who are here, love data. But also everybody else loves data too, with the caveat that people love data when it's about themselves, and when it's about topics that they're inherently interested in. So if our goal is to drive eyeballs to our website, whether it's we want to monetize those eyeballs or whether it is we're trying to build an audience, no matter what our purpose is, we need to write about data that they care about, and we need to write about data that's about them, our audience. So today, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to put my perspective on writing about data in context. So Jason Cohen with A SmartBear has a great presentation that he gives, and it's called Sifting Through the Bullshit. And it's about all the advice that's out there and how you get advice that directly contradicts each other. And how can that be? Everybody's giving this advice. Well, who's right? And the thing is we have to put that advice in context. So I'll give you context of where I come from and what my opinions are on writing about data. Then we'll get into those 7 examples, and the focus on the examples are going to be, number 1 is what are the results. I'm actually going to show some numbers. And number 2, what can you copy? So I thought about saying, what can you piggyback and try to make it a little more PC, but I think in this day and age, there's nothing wrong with copying what works for somebody else, right, and changing it to fit your philosophies. So my goal is for everybody in here at the end of the presentation to take away at least either one new tool or one new idea about writing about data. So at the end of the presentation, if I've done my job right, you'll have one thing that you can use next week as you're writing about data for your site. Okay, so to start with some context, this is a screenshot of Qubit. At Qubit, we have 900 users, and our users are concerned with pulling demographic data quickly. So, for example, this is East Cesar Chavez neighborhood in Austin. You can't go to the census.gov and pull demographic data for East Cesar Chavez. You can't go to any government website and pull demographic data for a neighborhood, or pull demographic data 500 feet away from a roadway. So that's the problem that we solve. We help people pull data for unusual shaped project areas. So in Qubit, after they draw their project area, we give them a map, and that map's going to show the census geographies that are within the project area, and that's going to show the demographic data from about 60 different government websites. So the data is cut and pastable directly into, usually they're trying to write a report or some kind of document. So that's the problem that we solve. And to add a little more to the context, I'm going to explain the context of Qubit in numbers, right, since we are here to talk about data. We have 2 people that work on Qubit. We were funded 2 years ago, and we raised $15,000 in seed investment. After that, we chose not to take additional funding. So we are a bootstrapped company after our $15,000 in seed investment. We have 900 users, and our users pay us $20 to $60 a month to have access to the Qubit web app that I just showed you. For that monthly fee, they get access to 60 different government sources of data. So it used to take our users 41.7 hours before Qubit to pull the demographic data that they need. With Qubit, it takes them 2.12 minutes on average to pull the data that they need. So that's this is my world, right? I am writing for people who are looking to solve this problem. And so kind of a gimme question, what's the #1 way that Qubit gets new users? This is kind of a list of typical marketing things that we've tried. And so the answer, as it should be, seeing as I'm giving this presentation, is that search engine optimized content about data is the #1 way that Qubit gets new users. So that's why it's so important to me, and that's why I'm here to talk to you about it. Is because that's how I get paid, right? So I said I was going to give you 7 awesome examples. So before we go forward, we need to define awesome. So how I define awesome is #1, drives traffic to our website that actually converts. Right? It doesn't do me any good if somebody hits a blog or they hit a landing page and they bounce off. I need them to go deeper into the site. I need them to sign up for a newsletter. I need them to follow me on Twitter. And ideally, I need them to sign up for a free trial and then become a paying user. It can't take a lot of time. We're a 2-person team. Writing about data is a very small part of what I have to do at Qubit, right? So we're building databases, we're putting out new products, we're doing customer support, all those other things. So it can't take a lot of time. I can't, have New York Times infographics on our website, right? It can't cost a lot of money because we are bootstrapped and, we're trying to stay that way. And ideally, I want my writing to result in intangibles. And I don't like words like intangibles because they're hard to quantify, but writing about data is what allows me to do a lot of speaking, right? People opt in, they listen to what I have to say. Intangibles, for example, here's a specific example of intangible. Our website, we have a picture of a cat, and we say, demographic data is so frustrating, it's like teaching your cat to poop in the toilet. And so I want to have interesting, I want to infuse the writing with personality, so that when people call us, I love it when I hear, we love your company. And the reason they say we love your company is not because our app is perfect, because it's not. It's because we put a lot of personality into what we do, and that's really important. So that's what I mean with intangibles. And when I write about data, I want to infuse that writing with a lot of personality, a lot of fun. It doesn't need to be dry. Okay, so specific types of content that have worked really well for Qubit. There are 3. This is one example. This is a landing page, blog posts, and tweets about data. So all 3 of these, and I'll give specific examples of these types of content that work really well. They're awesome examples of driving eyeballs to our website. Okay, so #1, the most awesome type of writing that we do about data is landing pages, right? Kind of boring, but it drives a ton of traffic that converts to our website. So when the Census 2010 data was released, when the redistricting data was out, we took the entire data set and we built out 20,000 landing pages. So every city, every state, and every county in the United States, we gave them a landing page and we put up Census 2010 data on it, right? So from a technical standpoint, this is pretty simple. We've got a paragraph that's automatically populated with data, and then we have a series of 4 charts and 4 graphs, right? And the graphs, the graphs just graph the chart data behind it. So it's super, super simple. But the great thing about it is that when somebody Googles Travis County Census 2010 data, we appear above the fold in the Google results, right? So this is us. And we used to be higher, and then the census put their data up and it knocked us down. But I'm working on it. I'm going to get back up there again. So landing pages are a huge traffic driver to Qubit. So this was Qubit before we put these redistricting data landing pages up. And this was when the first day that Google indexed our landing pages, right? So you can see effectively, after the landing pages launched, we doubled our traffic. Today we get about 5,000 uniques a week, which if you're, if you're a media company, that's not all that great. But if you're a very niche startup and you sell data to environmental engineers and urban planners, 5,000 uniques a week is enough. It's a really good traffic for us. So we called this project NOAA because it was supposed to be a flood of data, and it has been a flood of data for us. So how can you, let's say you want to try landing pages on your website. Well, where do you start? So there are four free tools, and I'll go into depth into all 4 of these tools. And the bonus tool is that we are a Ruby on Rails shop. So Rails has some infrastructure in place. It allows us to throw up landing pages very quickly. So we built out all of those landing pages, 20,000 landing pages, in 8 hours of time total. 4 of my time and 4 of my co-founder's time, and that's it. And so the Rails handled all the infrastructure, so we didn't have to worry about that piece. We were more worried about the content. What does the page look? How can we get people to like us on Facebook, right? All those SEO pieces. Okay, so here are the four, I'm going to show you images of these 4 different tools that you can use to build landing pages. So this is a video, it's called Hacking Content Creation. It's an AppSumo video, and it's Andrew Warner of Mixergy is interviewing Patrick McKenzie of Bingo Card Creator. And Patrick McKenzie is the best example that I know of a small bootstrap business that's created landing pages and has created an entire business on building landing pages and selling a software as a service. It's just amazing, like kind of at the forefront of everybody who's doing this. So it's an awesome video. It'll tell you step by step, here's how to build a landing page, all the pieces that you need on the landing page side of it. So if you're not familiar with SEO, SEO is a very important part of landing pages. It's also an important part of writing and driving that traffic, right? To make sure you're writing on the keywords that people are Googling. So this is SEO Moz's. It's a free beginner's guide to SEO. It'll take you through about 75% of what you need to know on SEO. It's free and it's very easy. They write it in a very easy to understand way. Okay, one of my favorite tools, absolutely free, is Google AdWords. Right? So there's a tool in Google AdWords under, if you click on the Reporting and Tools tab, it's the keyword tool, right? And so this tool, if I type in Census 2010, it comes up, it tells me how many people are Googling for Census 2010, and I can see the phrase Census 2010 results get 60,000 local monthly searches in the United States in the English language. So one specific example of why I'd want to use this tool is it tells me that people, when they search for Census 2010, they search Florida Census 2010, right? And so if I'm going to optimize a page, I want to optimize on Florida Census 2010. I don't want to optimize on Census 2010 Florida. So a lot of really good data in digging into Google AdWords. All right, so this is back to our landing page. They're kind of boring, right? I mean, it's mostly just census data. What makes it interesting are all the charts, right? That's what kind of adds some color, it adds some part to the page. So we obviously didn't build out 80,000 charts, right? 4 charts on a page times 20,000 pages, that's just unrealistic. We definitely couldn't have done that in 8 hours of time. So we used what's called the Google Chart API, another absolutely free tool. Even if you don't have anybody in-house that can integrate with the API, they have a chart wizard. So you can use the chart wizard, let's say, and build a chart for your blog. All right, and so you've seen my example of what a landing page looks like on Qubit. If you want to see kind of what I would say a pro example of a landing page, check out the Bingo Card Creator. And so if you don't want to get that AppSumo video, you can check out how he set up his landing pages, and you can look at the elements of the landing page, and I would just copy exactly how he's done it. All right, so off of landing pages, hopefully a little more exciting. Second example is data that's disproving an accepted truth. So the example I'm giving here, this was the most controversial blog post that I ever wrote on Qubit. So I write Qubit's blog. On a good week, I get 2 blog posts a week. I give myself 2 hours each blog post. So that's figuring out what the topic is, that's figuring out doing the SEO research behind it, that's writing the post, figuring out what the image is, doing the infographic, and if I have to code any HTML to make it play nice with WordPress, that's all in 2 hours, right? So I give myself a very narrow window to get these blog posts done. So one way, so data disproving an accepted truth. So I was writing this on the vacancy rates of walkable neighborhoods. Walkable neighborhoods are considered, that's the neighborhood that we should all be building by urban planners, right? I mean, everybody agrees in urban planning that walkable neighborhoods are what we need to be building. And so I started pulling Census 2010 data about walkable neighborhoods, and I found out that number 1, the vacancy rates of walkable neighborhoods are higher than their surrounding cities, and number 2, fewer blacks and Hispanics live in walkable neighborhoods. There's not a lot of diversity in walkable neighborhoods. And so the planning community didn't really like to hear that about their darling idea. And so that's great, right? So from my perspective, we're creating controversy. This is awesome. And so I can go into Google Analytics, another free tool by Google, and I can see how many people are reading my blog post. So since I launched this blog post in mid-June, you can see right when it came out, there was a lot of people were reading it. And so I've had 1,156 unique views. Well, that's okay. The awesome thing is they're spending 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the page, and about 18% of the people are actually going down, they're clicking on other pages, they're learning more about the site. So these kinds of metrics are exactly what I want to see on the blog post. But what I'm really excited about is I had 41 comments on that particular post. Now about 10 of those are mine, responding to other people's comments, but the rest of them are people being very angry at this information, right, and telling me that I did it wrong, they didn't like my methodology, they didn't like the neighborhoods, which is great, that's fine. They're taking the time to respond to my blog. You can hate it all you want, but you're taking the time to respond to it. In 6 months, you will not remember the blog, you will not remember any of that, but you will remember the name Qubit because you took the time to engage with it. So fortunately, my co-founder is okay with me causing controversy and causing problems. So what can you copy about writing about data that disproves kind of accepted truths? Well, one really cool thing about this particular blog post was it came out of a Twitter conversation I had. So I know you guys probably can't see this, but I retweeted some data about walkable neighborhoods, and somebody retweeted me back talking about, hey, walkable neighborhoods don't have a lot of diversity. So this whole concept of writing about walkable neighborhoods and pulling demographic data, it came out of a conversation that I had on Twitter, right? So as people are engaging you in social media, consider what questions are they asking you, and that could be a really interesting blog post or an article that you can put together. So another awesome thing about this post was I got to demo Qubit, right? So I pulled the walkability data, I pulled the housing data, and all those other data pieces from Qubit. So as part of my blog post write-up was, here's how you pull the data using Qubit, right? So as I'm trying to sell my app, that's a great opportunity for me to show off my product. Another thing, of course, writing about hot topics, which is walkability in our little world. Pissing people off is always a good way to get eyeballs to the website. And then using Google Analytics, right? You want to track those blog posts and see which blog posts do well and keep writing more of those blog posts. Because most of them don't, right? Most of the time I put out a blog post, doesn't do so well. But when I start to see trends, then I know, okay, that's repeatable. I can write more blog posts about walkability and demographics. I can write more blog posts about